really just boil down to the hand trick. So find all values between 0 and 360. So I'm looking basically in every quadrant when cotangent is negative radical 3. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, it is a lot easier for me to think about sine, cosine, and tangent than it is cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Do you guys feel the same? So when I see one of them, I write it in terms of the reciprocal. That means tangent is 1 over radical 3, or negative radical 3 over 3. Bless you. First of all, focus on the fact that it's a negative. Which quadrants can tangent be negative in?
2 and 4.
Right. So I know I should have 2 answers, one for each of them. And remember, that's the all students take calculus. So, on the quiz, your work, I want to see your quadrant, and then I want to see your reference angle. The reference angle is from your hand trick. When is tangent radical 3 over 3? So tangent of 0 is 0. Tangent of 30, radical 1 over radical 3. That's it, isn't it? So it's 30 degrees. So 30 degrees in quadrant 2. If this angle is 30, what's this angle?
120.
Close.
150.
150, because you have to do 180 minus 30. All right, in quadrant 4, if this angle is 30, what's that one?
2D.
Remember, you always go from the x-axis, so it's like 360 minus 30. That's my final answer. The minimum work that you need to give me is your quadrant and referencing. Okay, so quadrant, we know we should get 2 answers. Reference angles from the hand trick. And then we just put that angle in each of those quadrants. Is that one okay? Second type of thing. We had finding the exact value from a picture. Did you have a question?
I'll ask a little bit.
Okay, you sure?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so if I ask for the exact value, I'm asking you to find all the variables A, B, C, D. If I say exact value, what does that mean? With radicals. So you can't just type it in a calculator and give me a decimal. All right. I have 2 right triangles here. Which one do we have more information? The left or the right?
Right.
The right. So let's start there. If I want to find A, I have my 30-degree angle. If it helps you, label your sides. You know, from my 30 degrees, this is across from the right angle, so that's the hypotenuse. This is touching it, so that's adjacent. That means B is the opposite. You certainly don't have to, but if you get stuck on that, label it. So from 30, adjacent over hypotenuse, what trig function is that? So the cosine of 30 equals A over 48. What is the cosine of 30? So my hand trick. 30 degrees, cosine's radical 3 over 2. Multiply our 48. 48 divided by 2 is 24, so we get 24 radical 3. Do you remember doing these last week? We had them. Once you have 2 sides, you could do Pythagorean theorem, or we could do another trig function. If I wanted to go back to this, I have opposite and hypotenuse. What trig function? So the sine of 30 degrees equals opposite side B, the hypotenuse 48. So the sine of 30, if I do my hand trick, fold in my 30, sine square root of the top over 2, so 1/2, equals B over 48. Multiply the 48, and B is 24. Are we okay there? So we just found everything in that triangle. Now, let's move to the triangle on the left. We actually already know something. If one angle is 45 degrees, the other one's 45 degrees. If those angles are the same, what do you know about the sides? B and C are equal, so C is 24. And then how could you get D? Pythagorean theorem. Do I need to work that out, or can you guys handle that? You can handle it? Okay. So you would have to find D to finish. So basically start with the triangle you have the most information for, plug in the value of your trig function, and just solve from there using SOHCAHTOA. Alright. Next type of question. Exact values. So that means with radicals. We had, like on that review handout last Friday, I think almost the whole front side was these type of questions. The work. What work do I expect you to show on these? Maybe not so much on A and B, but when I get to like C, D, and E. Quadrant and reference angle. Okay. A and B, those are just straightforward hand tricks, so I don't really need those. They're in quadrant 1. So 60 degrees. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So I know at 60 degrees cosine is 1/2. So secant would be 2. Okay, tangent of 45. Square of the top over square of the bottom. Radical 2 over radical 2 is 1. But when I get here, quadrant. What quadrant is 225 in? The reason we picked a quadrant is so we know if it's positive or negative. Remember, all students take calculus. In quadrant 3, tangent is positive, so sine is negative. Then we do our reference angle. So 225 minus 180 is, right, remember reference angle is always how far to the x-axis. So now just the sine of 45, so radical 2 over 2. Cotangent of 150, what quadrant is 150 in? Okay, in quadrant 2, sine is positive, so cotangent is reference angle. Distance to the x-axis, so you do 180 minus 150, it's 30. Okay, so I'm doing 30. Tangent is radical 1 over radical 3, so cotangent would flip it, so radical 3 over radical 1, and negative radical 3. Last one, cosecant of 300 degrees. What quadrant is 300 in? Reference angle. Oh, sorry, let's talk about positive and negative. C is for cosine up here. So cosine is positive, so cosecant would be? Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So cosine and secant are positive, so that means cosecant's negative. Reference angle 360 minus 300 is 60. So I do my hand trick for 60. Okay, if you need to, think about sine. Sine is radical 3 over 2, so cosecant flips it. 2 over radical 3 or negative 2 radical 3 over 3. So those questions are just hand trick. Make sure you do quadrant and reference angle. Are those okay? The next thing we did, we had that section with just making sure we knew how to do things on the calculator, so nothing too crazy there. If I gave you something like secant of 35 degrees, 15 minutes. We don't have a secant button, so how do we type that in? Yeah, the second gives us the angle. So to get secant, we have to do 1 divided by cosine. And if we have degrees and minutes, remember we type it in as 35 plus 15 over 60. And what do we get? So we can do the calculator. Last thing, stuff we were doing yesterday. So I told you it would be a question like the front of that paper from yesterday. So if I said, answer this with significant digits and write triangle ABC. Make sure you're drawing your triangles big enough that you can label your stuff. I left a lot of room for this one on the quiz, so that should help. Angle A is 36 degrees. Where do we put side C? The hypotenuse. That's 18. Find all the missing values. So the easiest one, how do I get angle B? So we get 54 degrees. Then we need side A and side B. Oops. Side A is across from angle A, so that would be down here. Side B is across from angle B. So if I wanted A, that's opposite, 18 is hypotenuse, so what trig function? Sine of 36 degrees equals A over 18. Multiply to 18. How many significant digits? 2. So we get 10.58, so we would round it to 11. And you would get B the same way. Do I need to show that, or can you figure that out?